Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to everyone in all of the remote locations today. This is the first time we've done this. It's been a couple of years now since we've tried to get everyone in the UTO together. And of course, it's difficult because UTO is such a large organization. There's more than 350 people in our organization. So we're going to fill this facility, and I'm sure the other facilities are pretty well full as well. So we're a few short days now from being invaded. The annual invasion of the students back to campus, the return of students to campus. And I know that just about everyone in the UTO, and for that matter across the entire campus, is heavily engaged in preparing all of our operations for the arrival of the students. In fact, of course, students have already begun to arrive, and next week we'll see students beginning to move into the dorms in a really big way. So we thought it would be a good opportunity to get everyone together before we got crushed by the masses of students, and none of us could get across campus to get to a meeting like this anyway. To take a few minutes just to kind of look back at what we've done over the past year in particular, and maybe look a little bit into the future about what we're going to be focusing on in the coming year. Now, so I'm going to give a few comments. Unfortunately, I have to leave early to get to another meeting, but I'm going to turn it over to the AVPs, to the leadership team, to talk about what each one of the departments in the UTO has done and is doing over the course of the next year. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the goals and objectives of the university. You all know what they are. Arizona State is, as the slide says, one of the top 100 universities in the country. We've climbed significantly in the national rankings over the course of the past 5 years, and not only in the academic standing of the institution, but in the research standing of the institution, and relative to a lot of the national and international programs of focus and of importance. Really, trying to summarize the mission of the university, and at least Michael Crow's goals, our president's goals, it's really to create an institution that can have an impact on the surrounding area, an impact on the students who attend our university, an impact on the state of Arizona, and principally an impact on the country and internationally. And so a lot of the things that the UTO does is dedicated really to supporting those goals. In fact, everything that we do is dedicated to supporting those goals. And without going into each of the individual goals and objectives, I will talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing and have done over the course of the past year to achieve some of those objectives. So if I can get this thing moving. This doesn't work like mine, so.
Sorry, I disabled the touchpad, so only the trackball works.
Only the trackball works.
I can't remember what laptop I'm on. That's usually how I do it.
So let me get back to this. There we go. So, of course, in this past year, and probably moving into the next several months, hopefully we'll be finished with this one day, is the upgrade to Peoplesoft. For those of you who aren't aware, Peoplesoft is the principal suite of applications that the university uses to register students, to admit students, to enroll students, to administer our human resources functions, the benefits packages, all of those applications. And we've been working now for several months. Leah and her team, Katie Reynes and her team, have been working for the last several months to upgrade Peoplesoft to the latest version. It's not a trivial thing because it's a very complex system, very complex undertaking, very complex set of connections to many, many other systems and many, many processes. So the upgrade will allow us to continue to grow that platform and give us additional flexibility, particularly in the HR and the student areas over the course of the coming years. So go live is scheduled for September. Right now it's on time and on budget, which is always a good thing. We're hoping it stays there. But we have a significant number of people, not only in the UTO, but also across the functional areas in the university that are working on this. Several hundred people, in fact. Get back to the slides. In the course of the last year, the UTO continued to support a lot of innovation in approaches to improving student performance, student outcomes, academic advising, retention. There are a number of slides here. But the really significant thing is the efforts that the UTO staff have, as well as others on the campus, have put into our learning analytics and development of business intelligence functions have really begun to catch the attention of a lot of other institutions across the country. John Rome, Lee, and I just 2 weeks ago participated in an EDUCAUSE webinar in which several institutions that are leading in this area were presenting on their progress. And it was very clear from that presentation and the feedback that this is indeed an area where ASU, and particularly the UTO, excels. So working with the Provost's office, working with a variety of other offices, we've developed a set of tools, a set of dashboards that really put the power of analytics into the hands of our faculty, into the hands of our administrators, and ultimately into the hands of students. So here are some examples of the dashboards that have been developed by the team. This one in particular focusing on the success of our research programs and providing additional tools for researchers to utilize in pursuing their grant awards. We're also doing some interesting things in really understanding how people are using the dashboards themselves across the campus. We can track which ones are being used, which of course allows us to get better at defining new dashboards and implementing new tools. This is a chart, really, a use of the dashboard or a visualization of where our students come from, which is very useful, of course, in understanding where we should focus our recruiting efforts, among other things. Tracking student progress has become a key element of the strategy that our provost, Betty Capaldi, now Betty Phillips, is focusing on. And one of the really signature efforts of Arizona State has been the ability to provide information to students to help them stay on track towards the completion of their degree. So it's through tools like this that we track internally and ultimately provide information to the students so that they can better manage their own academic careers and their progress. This is an example of the early retention tool that sets flags and notifies not only the students but the advisors that a student might be having difficulty in a particular degree program. And with that information, of course, the advisor can help steer the student back on track. E-Advisor is the chief component of that effort. And again, this is an initiative that has gotten a lot of attention across the country. And I dare say that our provost spends as much time describing the efforts to other institutions as she does in helping to further develop those capabilities here. Just returned from a trip to Vietnam, in fact, where all of these tools and approaches were being described, and something that the institutions in that country are very interested in. So finally, this is an example of what is provided to students. Again, I know you probably can't see the detail here, but it gives them an indication of whether they're on track or off track towards their completion of their degree. And finally, again, taking an overall look at the performance of our student body and allowing the provost and the academic departments across the institution to adjust their approaches to supporting student success. So one of those approaches that has been another innovation here at ASU has been the design and approach that is being used in introductory math classes. We signed a relationship, a partnership with a company called Newton. Many of you have seen those classrooms scattered around the campus, and it provides differentiated learning for students in introductory math classes. That is, students can progress in math at their own pace. We all learn at different rates, of course, and previously, of course, in introductory math classes, everyone sat in the same math class, listening to the same lectures, seeing the same problems, whether they already knew that information or not. This approach allows those students who already have excelled in those particular areas to move along at a more rapid pace, and for those students who need assistance to get immediate assistance in the classroom to move at their pace. So part of the effort involved the design and ultimately the management of 6 math classrooms across the 4 campuses. And it's through the CARE organization principally that these classrooms were equipped and supported. So over 12,000 exams were given in those classrooms in the last year. And now that approach is being deployed to other courses and other subject areas, particularly in the freshman courses. So this year we also launched the ASU Information Center. So Sandy's here. There's the team, Monica. The Information Center was really launched at the request of Dr. Crow. And he had become increasingly concerned by the number of complaints that he was receiving in the president's office from people who were calling the institution various numbers, various departments, and really not being very satisfied with the interaction. So Sandy built a team, we built a team, launched the Information Center, and a number of tools associated with that to provide much improved service for principally visitors to the campus, but also to an increasing degree, the rest of the campus, faculty and staff, have come to rely upon their services as well. So this has been enormously successful. We're hoping to expand that, the range of tools, especially, and over the coming year, and continue to grow that center. Infrastructure. So just over a year ago, I was asked to provide Dr. Crow an assessment of our infrastructure. If you recall, I started in this position just 2 years ago, and after the first year, I felt I had a pretty good sense of where the issues, particularly in the infrastructure, were. You're all aware, of course, that the institution, that ASU, like most public institutions in this country, have been subjected to significant budget cuts over the course of the past several years. That has resulted in my opinion, a significant and chronic underfunding, underinvestment in infrastructure on the campus, and it was showing up in a lot of different ways. It was showing up in outages principally, in the amount of time and effort that our ops team had to give to run down problems to fix problems. And ultimately, it was affecting a number of the mission elements of the institution, both the academic mission as well as the research mission. So we approached Dr. Crow with our assessment. I suggested to Dr. Crow that the size of the problem was probably on the order of $70 to $75 million. Now, of course, in this budget climate, there's no way that we're ever going to see $70 to $75 million, and frankly, we couldn't spend that much money if we were given it anyway, at least not quickly. But to their credit, to his credit, in particular, Dr. Crow looked across the table at the provost and at Morgan Olson, our chief financial officer, and said, let's fix this. We've got to fix it. So last year, we were awarded $3.5 million to put directly into infrastructure improvements. This year, we're anticipating the arrival of another roughly $4 million or so. And I expect that the coming years will allow us to continue to invest to rebuild the infrastructure that we have on campus. Now, Jay is going to talk much more about exactly where that money has gone and where the future monies will go, but principally it's security improvements, border firewalls, network segmentation, virtual desktop implementation. Ultimately, we're trying to achieve much improved stability and reliability and security. In other words, the message to Dr. Crow was simply that without a stable and reliable information technology platform in place across all of our campuses, there's no way that we could support the degree of innovation that Dr. Crow is seeking from our faculty and our staff and our researchers. So this has become a very high priority for the institution, and I expect continued attention to be paid on this in the coming years. I threw this picture up here simply to show you some of that infrastructure. Okay, it's not really, but that's a cell phone tower. Now, it's true that the other institutions in the university system here receive infrastructure funding as well. That's the cell phone tower. This is NAU's version of infrastructure spending. And there's our friends to the south. Aesthetics are important, of course. Another of the efforts that have been underway in the last year is our digital signage initiative. Is Sean here? No. These are some examples of the digital signage that have gone in at other institutions. We're just now beginning the deployment of this at ASU. Can you see these? Interactive message boards across the campus, partitioned into segments to which individual streams can be delivered and ultimately feedback obtained. This is at Missouri University Science and Technology. We've got a couple in here from other institutions. You'll see these popping up all over campus, all over all four of our campuses, in fact, over the coming months. If we can keep them out of the casinos. Okay. We've also, of course, established in support of our partnerships with Mayo, oops, got the wrong and our new campus at Lake Havasu City. We were responsible for supporting the technology implementation at both of those locations. At Mayo, we have a network, high bandwidth network link that has been established there to support telepresence. For those of you who aren't aware, the bioinformatics department actually is located on the Mayo Clinic campus up in Scottsdale. And so we've extended the campus network effectively to the Mayo Clinic, and we anticipate that in the future we'll be building a much larger pipe and moving lots of data between the two facilities, as well as supporting all of the educational activities of the new Mayo Medical School, which is scheduled to open very soon. Likewise, in Lake Havasu City, we now have our first class of, I believe it's about 200 students that will be taking classes at Lake Havasu City. The network team has negotiated to get services to the facilities there, and likewise, CARE has assisted in the design and build out of the technology support needed to provide support to the students and the faculty at Lake Havasu City. I anticipate we're likely to see additional efforts like this across the state. Dr. Crow is being approached on a fairly regular basis by different communities across the state of Arizona looking to have an ASU presence in those communities. You'll be hearing more about this later, but ASU's Advanced Computing Center, while not directly part of the UTO, does in fact report jointly to me and to our Chief Research Officer. Working with Frank Timmis and his staff, we've worked together to develop a new strategic plan for advanced computing, high performance computing at ASU, and worked very, very closely with Jay and his team to develop the infrastructure, to provide infrastructure support, particularly high performance networking support that will enhance the capabilities of the Advanced Computing Center at ASU. So as I said, you'll hear some more about how we're expanding cycles, storage, bandwidth, and ultimately expertise for the ASU research community. Don't know how well you can see this, but Arizona State recently became one of only 6 national research universities participating in Internet2's Innovation Platform Initiative, which ultimately will bring us enhanced connectivity, capacity, and new applications. In particular, we're laying plans right now for connecting to Internet2 at 100 gigabit speeds. And then distributing that 100 gigabit access across to research facilities first, and ultimately to each one of the campuses at Arizona State. Today, most of the connectivity that we have is in the 10 megabit range, but that's rapidly improving, some going quickly to 40 megs and then onwards. I'm sorry, gigs. Order of magnitude, tells how old I am. So at 100 gigabit speeds, we'll be able to participate, our researchers will be able to participate in some important national research initiatives that are underway, particularly in the growth of our biosciences programs, health sciences, high performance computing, software defined networking initiatives, and this will bring us the opportunity to provide the researchers the environment that they'll need to succeed at competing for additional research grants and research funding. Uh-oh. Okay, so as I mentioned, tomorrow, in fact, is my 2-year anniversary here. Thank you. I survived, right? We all survived. So we all survived. You remember that first year when I arrived and we were presented with Blackboard issues. Blackboard failed. Through a great amount of effort and a lot of work by a lot of people in the UTO working with Blackboard, that platform now has become one of the most stable platforms that we have at the institution. Now, I'm knocking on wood, of course, because we haven't seen our 72,000 plus students come in and start hammering away at it again. But again, we survived that effort, we survived that challenge, and ultimately we came out much stronger for it. This past year, you'll remember, we faced another challenge in January, having to really spin more than 100,000 passwords for every member of the ASU community. This became a challenge for us principally because of the legacy infrastructure, provisioning infrastructure that we had in our architecture. Again, through a lot of dedicated 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week effort by a lot of people across the UTO, we've come through that challenge much stronger, with much more effective and reliable infrastructure, and ultimately even better security, I believe. So the question is, what's going to hit us this year? Could it be Peoplesoft? Could it be, who knows? Okay, last year I got this for my birthday. So one of the challenges that I put out for our team, particularly Lee and her team, was to do more with mobile. We know how important mobile solutions are becoming for our students, for our faculty, for our staff, for everyone. But my sense was that we could do more. And so the team dedicated themselves to deploying this platform by my birthday last year. And for that, I thank you and I applaud you. Great work. In fact, additional work is going on to enhance that platform. This is what I want this year. Leah, can you guys do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey team, we have to go to school. I gotta make a card.
So I'm going to wrap up now. Before I do, I just wanted to run this little video to show, you know, as I said, this is a big organization. I'm not sure how to get this to run. That's how it was working before. But I'm not seeing it link. Do we have it somewhere? Okay, maybe I won't show this video. This, you know, I roam around the UTO a lot. This was something I shot when I was over in USB. Whatever. Come on. Okay, it's not going to run. Okay. All right.
Development, right?
Okay, we're gonna bypass that. I'll share that with you some other time. And then I also really just wanted to, so who's seen this? Michaela is not impressed. So Michaela, can't remember, what's her last name, is the Olympic gymnast who unfortunately missed out on the gold medal and was awarded a silver. And unfortunately was caught during the medal presentation ceremonies with this look on her face. And if you go to Tumblr, you'll see a number of people have been picking up on this. And Michaela is definitely not impressed. This was the one I saw this morning. But my favorite one is, where is it? Get my, my favorite was this one. Get a chance, go to that site, take a look at these, they're hilarious. And by the way, you can, let's get back to the full size. See that, in fact, like me, she is very impressed with the efforts of the UTO over the course of the past year in particular. So I thank you. I know that Dr. Crow, Dr. Capaldi, and Dr. Olson also send their thanks. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to the AVPs to talk about some of the things that you all have done in detail and what's coming up in the next year. Thank you. Tina.
They're controlling it? Okay. Which one am I speaking to?
Either one.
This one? Gotta bring it a little lower. Okay, can you guys hear me? All right, so we're gonna spend a couple minutes talking about information security, and as Gordon was taking us through some of the things we've done over the last couple of years, it occurred to me, the last time we brought this group together, I don't think my office existed. So there's something, a good reminder of how far we've come. So as the university charges ahead with all the innovative ideas and plans that Gordon just highlighted a little bit, it's quite a challenge to provide the stability, reliability, and security that he mentioned. My office, as many of you know, but some of you may not, since I'm not sure we've ever had this conversation this large a scale, is that my office is really been put in existence, been mandated by the Board of Regents that each university in Arizona have a program that exists to provide security guidance for the entire community. And security is wrapped up in confidentiality, integrity, and availability, those being the three key parts and pieces. So I'll fly through a couple of slides here pretty quickly. Leah says somebody else is driving this? All right. All right, so this is a picture my team put together in the last year. The managers and directors have seen this, and you may have seen this on some of our material, but as Gordon likes to call it, the cheese wheel. These are really this depicts the four main pieces of the security office. And as I go through each one, I'll highlight a piece from that we've made significant progress on in the last 12, 18 months or so. So our guidance comes in four ways. At the top, we've got governance. So this is policy and standards and things like that that provide guidance to the university, but don't necessarily dictate the way we operate, but it's a strong recommendation, if you will. The second piece is depicted at the bottom, and this is awareness, and this comes in a lot of forms. Some of it is technology specific, and some of it is really just how to manage data, whether it's in electronic form or sitting on your desk. And the security awareness campaigns come through training. Each of you has gone through one iteration, if not a couple, of our general information security training sessions. There's another round kicking off here very shortly. It's out there now. We just haven't gone through the advertising campaigns for it. That's one example. We do lots of other things as well. We send out alerts and advisories. Some we send on to the UTO. A lot we send on to the broader university community. And dealing with phishing attempts as an example, something we've gotten a lot better at this year. Then I've got implementation on the side, and this isn't necessarily typical in an information security cycle, cheese wheel. But I wanted to depict it here because our university is growing by leaps and bounds, and with our focus on infrastructure refreshes and security, growing security concerns, we are doing a lot of technical implementation. So my team is involved with all of you and all over campus to review designs and implement effective security practices. And the one I'll highlight here is really the password reset enhancements that just went in. We pushed out additional strength, so now you need a longer password, right? You don't have to type in, stuff that doesn't make any sense anymore. Now you can put a passphrase in. You just can't use spaces quite yet. Just a hint for those of you who are having trouble remembering the longer ones. And we've adjusted the timing of the resets and set that and really enforce that. Then there's the risk management and reactive measures. We're doing a lot in terms of metrics. I won't go into the details of all of those today, but we have a risk-based approach to information security. So, key initiatives, awareness and training. Our big message to the university that each of you can help us carry is that security is everyone's responsibility. If you, an individual, a manager in a department, or a department itself chooses to house university data, it's your job to protect it in every way, including securing it so that it stays within the hands of the people we'd like to have see it. Cyber security threats are increasing by leaps and bounds. It is not just ASU that's getting hit stronger and harder. It's across the globe. So leading into the proactive measures we've taken and are taking, intrusion prevention. The best thing we can do is stop it before it starts, right? So we're doing a lot more of that through the security enhancements, the border redesign, the network improvements, the segmentation. We're doing a lot in that a lot of effort in that area to minimize the number of things we have to respond to by just not letting them in the door in the first place. And then the reactive incident response pieces. If you didn't know, part of what we did this time last year, you do now, right? With the password resets, everybody got involved in that, but that is something that my team works on most every day of the year, smaller scale usually, but information security response procedures and protocols that we'd enhanced over the last year and a half, and we got to put to the test in January. So key initiatives moving forward this year. I'm speeding through this. We've got a couple minutes each to highlight some of the main points. Network infrastructure and network segmentation, both things that Gordon mentioned. This is doing a number of things to secure our environment. It also helps sometimes to put it under the guise of a compliance requirement. All right, so that's one of the ways in which we're getting some of these things through PCI compliance requirements or credit card processing requirements. We have a number of them, and sometimes it helps push some of these initiatives forward. Compliance doesn't mean secure, but it can go a long way towards it, and we can achieve a lot through that. We got things like Blackboard Connect. A couple years ago, we rolled out E2 Campus. That was a great first start, but we're ready for a much more robust emergency alert system. So Blackboard Connect is coming, along with a lot of proactive things we're setting out to do to set up contracts in advance for call centers, things like that, to help us if the emergency should arise. Device management, posture assessment, there's a lot wrapped up in here, but the short of it is, in order to keep our university secure, we need to know who's coming in and how secure the devices they're coming in on, right? We're not going to be able to keep up with each new device technology per se, but we can identify whether the person coming in needs access to sensitive data, in a lot of cases whether they have sensitive data on their machine, and direct them through our network and to our services appropriately. And that leads into access management, two-factor authentication. I've been waiting for a flexible solution to arrive, and there are several compelling ones on the market that we'll be looking to push out this year that are flexible enough to allow two-factor in all the ways you might want to have it. You know, a phone call, an SMS message, however the old key fob style. Lastly, I mentioned at the beginning managing our risk. We have a large information technology risk management initiative underway that Morgan Olson is assisting us in sponsoring from a financial perspective. It includes Plan View, which Deb's team has well underway. It includes IT asset management and change in configuration management. We're not paving our own trail here. We're following in the footsteps of an ISACA-developed risk IT program and designing it to meet ASU's needs. And with that.
Wait, intermission.
Intermission, okay.
Stop everything, stop the presses. You know, we just realized because Gordon has to leave early, we're gonna take the next 7 minutes. If there's any questions for Gordon specifically, you can put him on the spot because he can take off, right? Or if he doesn't want to answer it, you can push it to the rest of the ABC.
Stop me before I can run.
Yes, that was the goal.
So Leah, 5 minutes? How,
Like less than.
so a couple minute break?
After they ask Gordon his questions, we'll take a couple minute break.
Okay, questions first, then break,
Ask questions to get your break.
and then Jay is up next. Thanks, guys.
I'm sorry, this is Polly. We can't hear the discussion and background questions, so if you could repeat them to the video conference, that'd be great.
Thanks, we sure will.
Okay, we would normally have done this at the end of these presentations, of course, but I got overruled on my schedule today. Any questions for me, or for that matter, for any of the AVPs? What's been happening the last year? What's going to happen the coming year? Budget cuts? Anyone curious about budget cuts? Yeah. No, I'm not aware of any, actually. Yeah. Barb always has a question. She's
course.
always looking.
So we ask in the next year, do you see UTO being in one location in the next year?
Well, obviously, I would love to have everyone in UTO in a single location. But with over 300 people, 350 people plus students, and of course a necessary presence on all of our campuses, the answer to that is no. But as you know, the repurposing of much of the computing commons is requiring most of us to vacate there, although CARE will still have a presence there. And we're all going to be mostly one big happy family over in USB. But you know, there's construction happening all the time. A lot of what is happening is the result of having to move people around to accommodate various construction. And as new buildings open up, the new business school, for example, that will create space for expansion and for staging other people and other things. So, as you know, USB is a little bit out of the way for a lot of us and has less than desirable parking. But they are trying to make accommodations for us. Of course, part of HR, most of HR, is moving in order to accommodate our arrival. And hopefully, someday, we'll just take over that whole facility. I'm not counting on that happening, but clearly, we'll have more of the USB together, I think, than perhaps we ever had once we get everyone over there. So Barb, I wish I had better news for you, but unfortunately I don't. Other questions? I have to go. I do have to go to SkySong. So, okay. Well, certainly if anyone out there has any questions, you can always just email me, stop by and see me, touch base with Julie before you just walk in. But please feel free to stop by and see me. I'm happy to see any and all of you. And if you have any questions, just let me know. So thanks. Have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week, great move in for students, and great next year. Thank you.
So you don't get to leave for good, and we're sorry we couldn't, we're sorry we can't transport the cookies to those of you not here. But there are some refreshments in that hallway, and the men's restroom is on this side, the women's restroom is on that side, and we are gonna reconvene in 6 minutes. And I'm counting down those 6 minutes, so go fast, please. Get a drink, a cookie, whatever, but that's all you get, and then come back, and we're gonna go fast through the rest of this, I promise.
Okay, folks, we'll go ahead and get started again. I understand that there's probably a little bit of a waiting line at some of the facilities, but I'm sure people will trickle back in. And we'll get through this very quickly. It's again, we've been given about 5 minutes in each area, so if we could bring the slides up real quick. One of the things that when we talk about things we've done over the past year, I'm not going to cover a lot of that because everything that Gordon has talked to and Leah and Tina and their others will talk to are all the things that occur because operations and supports all of those things. So I was making notes as we went along, so everything on this list that we've already been talking about doesn't occur unless operations and support's out there. And I think of development as kind of the Michelangelos and the Sistine Chapel. It's always remembered for the frescoes, and even though Michelangelo wasn't a painter by trade, he was a sculptor, it's the Sistine Chapel is remembered because of the art that's in there. But people often don't think that the Sistine Chapel is still standing, right? Architecturally, it's a pretty sound building, and on the foundation it's built on, it's still there. So ops and care are the foundation for the support of the UTO. If we can go to the next, I go to the next slide, don't I? Don't read this, all right? This is the roadmap that we recently briefed Gordon and with the CenturyLink team on what's going on with the network. Some highlights are, some exciting new things that are going on is, Gordon mentioned 100 gigabits internet to ASU. one of only about 6 and ultimately probably about 20 in the next 2 or 3 years. They're going to have 100 gigabit connections to research universities. That's an amazing accomplishment for ASU. We'll get that lit up hopefully by the end of this calendar year. And we can be doing some exciting research on open flow and software developed networks. And if you haven't looked into some of that stuff, it's really kind of cool. Think about non-IP based networking. It's pretty cool stuff. A lot of this is operational. A lot of it you'll see change management across the board. But these are just a list of projects that we have going out over the next few quarters from a networking perspective. We can certainly share these with you, but if you want more information, I'll be happy to expand on this. And if you look at that, some of those are innovation goals and some of those are operational goals. Gordon has really made a statement to the AVPs that he really wants to see more innovation this year, more ideas bubbling up out of the UTO. And he's willing to support that with resources. So we'll talk about how, perhaps later on, how we might get some of those ideas. And operations, Gordon mentioned, yes, we did get infrastructure money. We got about $3 million last year, and 4.287 is on the books to come later on this fall. But $3 million out of an $80 million, $75 million need is not a lot to move the needle. But a lot of work has gone on to implement that $3 million. But this year we want to take a harder look at internally and some of the processes. So if the infrastructure gets upgraded, what do we do with our internal processes to make things better? So we're going to go and send about 25 people to some ITIL version or foundational training here in October. We've got a consultant that's come from CenturyLink that's going to help us for the next few weeks to map out our current processes. And it's exciting to know that many of our current change management processes are already mapped pretty close to ITIL methodologies. It's just tying up some of the loose ends there. So we're going to use the consultant to help us map that out and then get some formal training here in October and hopefully spread that across the UTO as we look internally to improve some of our processes to make things more efficient and more stable and more predictable. Sandy and her team have been working on the service catalog, and they've got a very long laundry list now available of all the services. And I think we're going to make a decision pretty soon on a communications person, Deb, that can help us to articulate that service catalog out across the UTO website so that our customers will know exactly what services we have available. Real quickly, I know we've seen this and we've talked about this, and you see the bullet items of cloud up there. So I wanted to take just a second to talk about cloud. Cloud is not about outsourcing at all. I mean, it's not about getting rid of the important services that we provide for the university. For me, it's about offloading some of the things that the operations and support are having to do at this time. We've got just literally hundreds of applications that we probably don't need to be doing the care and feeding for, and I can pay or have another organization do that for us. So essentially, I can offload some of that workload at the operations level to a higher level at a contractual level so that the leadership can worry about SLAs and deliverables and working with the vendors to provide the services. So if you look at this list, and this is just a preliminary list, but some of the things, this is not about getting rid of the services that the UTO provides. It's about getting rid of some of the workloads that we have currently that are plaguing us. Real quick, I wanted to mention, because often we overlook sometimes the design team, which is a pretty small group, and I don't know if Craig and his team are in here as a large group, but this is the list of some of the construction projects that have been going on for the past year and a half. It's pretty amazing, the amount of growth that's going on physically here at ASU. And I want to mention Lake Havasu. Gordon was talking about it earlier. I just got an email from Craig about an hour ago that the 100 gig circuit is up and tested, which is kind of, not the 100 gig, the 1 gig. Thanks, Dwayne. What's amazing about Lake Havasu is they built a campus, they got it up and running in very short order on a $2 million budget, and believe me, that is not easy to do, and there was a lot of wrangling and discussions and some compromises there, but students are going to be matriculating there in very short order, and it's a pretty amazing feat. The CARE organization, Sandy did a pretty good job articulating what CARE was doing at the Directors and Managers meeting a couple of weeks ago. So just a short bulleted list. One of our new partners, new SLA signed with Biodesign, which is I think is a great coup for us. I think it's the Biodesign coming to UTO saying we want your help, we want your support, is a pretty amazing feat in my mind. They used to have their own internal IT support. They wanted to do things their own way, but they realized that they wanted to offload some of those workloads, and Sandy and their team have been doing a great job of onboarding them I know John Wilson has done a great job of leading that charge for us. Some other things that are on there, and I think everybody knows pretty much what these initiatives are, and we'll probably have some questions about the help desk. I can tell you that 90% of my time is dealing with the contractors that we have, our major partners, whether it's CenturyLink or Cox or Blackboard Student Services, AT&T, Verizon, whatever the case may be. That I know that Sandy and her team have worked very hard to improve the help desk services, and actually Blackboard Student Services has started to add some new resources to hopefully make this a better fall semester. These goals, we'll share these, but very quickly, I want, again, these are some of the things that we are going to achieve this year, and some of the things that are not highlighted, but I really want to move about 25% of our data center services into the cloud this year. I think we can achieve that. I think if we look at Office 365, I think if we look at things like, we're not going to get rid of Hyperion, John, but maybe it's a good opportunity to look at it, having it hosted, DARs, things like that. I think we can move 25% of the applications into another area so that we, again, can focus on providing fantastic services for the things that we remain local. I know that's a long laundry list. I want to get to the last slide real quick. It struck me 1 week ago today, after everybody was still waking up from the power outage and the floods and the chemical leaks and everything else that went on Monday night a week ago, the things that we have to deal with. You know, this place catches on fire about every 2 weeks. I don't know what that, it really does. The fire trucks are rolling all the time. We have floods, right? Buildings are flooding all the time. I don't know if all of you are on the alert system or not, but it seems that I get texts on the alert system, ASU alert, at least on a weekly basis. Sprinkler systems go off. Power outages, as we encountered a week ago. And the team doesn't know this, but during that 9-hour evening, I was on the phone and just listening, and I was recording bits and pieces of the call, the bridge line. And I did it for a reason, because not only can we learn from some things and make the processes better in the middle of the night as the team's working very hard to get things back up and running, but it also gives me a better understanding of how we work together in an emergency. Jack Shue literally couldn't get to campus because the fire trucks were blocking the roads at ISTB 4 because the sprinklers were going off, and the Mars mission had just landed, and researchers were literally yelling and screaming at firemen who had axes in their hands. You know, it wasn't the firemen's fault, and Ronnie was down in the ops center trying to help with Mayron was at home, called in. Cecilia woke up and started bringing things up, and Jack, of course, was banging away on the keyboards, and Kevin was running around everywhere. It was kind of hard to keep track virtually via the phone. But it was pretty amazing as I recorded some of those conversations, the teamwork and the amount of effort that goes in just on a nightly outage. And these seems, you know, I am so proud of the ops team and everybody that got involved that night and the amount of work. Services were pretty much completely restored by the time campus got back to business but we still had some glitches. Of course, we have gremlins that we're trying to work out. And then the last thing is the security piece, which, you know, we're all trying to support security. And I did some analysis on this, and I know my time's almost up. But we probably spent almost 2 months worth of staff time on security issues this past 6 months, which is kind of a drain on our resources. And it's important work, it really is. But because of the incident that happened in January and the resulting scans in the data centers and the beefing up of the password environment and Edna and things like that, about 2 months of complete staff time at ops, and I know in dev as well. I didn't do the dev part. It's been pretty amazing the amount of effort we've done to put into security. So the last comment I want to make is that it's been a tumultuous past year, but not because nobody has been slacking off or not working hard or not caring about what they're doing. One of the things that I feel like I wanted to express was I think everybody takes a great deal of pride in the work that they do, but you know, sometimes we lose sight of the fact that we need to be proud of the results that we produce. So I just want to say I'm very proud of Ops and Care, because it doesn't work without the efforts, the heroics in the evenings, and the dedication on a day-to-day basis. So I know that there's not a whole lot of strategy in the speech, but I wanted to take the time while we had everybody to say thank you. We need to keep going. Oh, okay. And now we're going to move to Deb.
So Leah's giving me the cue to hustle up. Okay, it does go straight into that. Good morning. It's good to see all of you here. This is my first all-staff meeting. So I'm excited to see some faces that I've never seen before in UTO. Hopefully I'll get to say hello to you all before you take off this morning. My group is the Planning and Program Management Office, and we're responsible for maintaining the IT strategic plan and program and project management, as well as the UTO training function is within this team, and I put communication up there because Jenny originally was a part of our team, or was in our team, and we have posted that position and are trying to hire a communications manager now that will ultimately take on even more responsibilities for communicating and being the public relations and public affairs liaison for UTO to the university community. So that's sort of our goal. Am I still not loud enough? You can't hear me? In terms of accomplishments for the group, wrong way, out of order. There's a lot of information on this slide, and I just want to hit a few of the high points, and I want to focus accomplishments around specifically what we have done with planning and project management over the course of the last year. So as you can maybe see on this slide up in the top left, we now have 39 projects in our PlanView enterprise project management tool. About 90 maintenance and business activities are in there. Out of those projects, 2/3 of those are currently in executing mode, and another third of those are in the planning phase. So as projects now start to progress through the life cycle, they're coming through our capacity pipeline, and they're starting to flow through our normal process that we're putting in place, where they'll get approved for executing, and then they'll start moving. Half of the projects that we have now in our planning tool are getting time recorded against them, so you're all doing great with that. We thank you for that. And about half the milestones on all of those projects have been achieved and completed, which means we're actually showing progress in those projects. Up here in the middle, you can see the number of days reported on the maintenance and business operations time. Dev is leading the race there, so go Dev, you're doing great. You're all recording your time on your maintenance and business activities. So far, about 4,600 days have been recorded in PlanView that represent project time and maintenance time. So as time goes on, that number is going to grow, and it's going to give us some good history to compare and track with. The number one project with the most amount of time being recorded against it is, of course, the Peoplesoft Upgrade. So thank you, Katie. And the second one is the PTR project, which is another one that Katie's been working on. It kind of comes down to this date. This is the date that we want to establish full implementation and deployment with the PlanView tool, so that we're recording time and we're planning project work. And there's 2 points I want to emphasize about why that's important. Once we have the data going in there where you're entering time, we can see what's going towards operational support and maintenance activity versus what's going toward project work. And then we can begin to make some decisions about resource allocations if we want to change some of those dimensions. So that's very important for us, and it's important for you to show where that time is going so that we can help understand and make decisions around where we want to focus project work. The other thing is, if the project managers are actually planning in the tool and they're planning requests for people's time, it gives us the ability to see out in the future where we're going to have resource constraints. We know which areas basically overall in your teams are constrained. We know where the issues are, but we look at it every day like a log jam right in front of us, and what we want to be able to do is project out into the future so we can see those conflicts before they happen and make decisions about how to better manage and allocate resources, and think about how maybe we can augment our own resources with some other options that might provide a solution and help us avoid those conflicts. What we'll be focusing on now and through the coming months and in the coming year is basically going to be refining this process and making this tool work for us. So we now are getting projects from 2 of our major user areas in a very controlled manner. The Chief Financial Officer has designated his Chief of Staff, which is Rudy Belavia, as the point of contact for funneling all of the work requests in those areas to us. They're using our project charter format, so we're going to have that single point of contact for a lot of that work. Not necessarily maintenance and operational support and those types of things to fix systems that you all deal with and interact with those people on a daily basis. The intent is not to take away that interaction. It is really to funnel the big work through a channel where we can plan around it and we can fund it and we can get funding around those projects, so that when we have a planning portfolio laid down for a year, we also have the money aligned with those projects, so we don't get into situations where we have to keep going back and asking for more funds because we didn't anticipate that this project was going to cost something. We've also crafted a process for prioritizing work. I've talked about this a little bit with the managers and directors, but we actually have a little template now that we're going to be testing out that's built into the tool that allows us to measure the projects and rate them based on institutional goals and priorities. So we'll see how that's going to work over the next few weeks. It's probably going to evolve. I would love to share it with you also if you'd like to see it, or if you'd like to see any part of this application, this tool work. Just call me or anybody on the PPMO team, because we're happy to come out and meet with your teams and talk with you about this and get your feedback. So there may be ways to do some of these things better, so we would love to hear from you. The project right now, the data is actually still in a spreadsheet in Google. A lot of you have had exposure to that. We're starting to move it all into PlanView. So we're going to be working on reports and dashboards, both in and out of this system, so that the data will be visible and it will be transparent to our university constituency, our user community, and to all of you. So hold on, that's still coming. I know you're waiting to see data. We're trying to set this up, but we'll be rolling these things out very, very quickly. And then we have training available around PlanView in many ways. There's online training, there is instructor-led training. If you'll call Paul Stoll or any of his team members or any of us, we can come out and do one-on-one coaching sessions with you. There's lots and lots of ways, and there's online self-paced training. So there's a lot of ways to get help. If you need consulting, if you need somebody to come and show you how to do something once again because you didn't get it in training, that's fine. That's what we're here to help you do. I just want to make that available to you. Please, please contact us, because we really want all of the UTO staff collecting time within this tool so we can watch it and see how things are going to progress over the next coming months and the next year. Which talks about the monitoring and controlling, because that's exactly why we want to do that. And we want the status reports entered, or we want time entered every week, and we want project managers updating the status on their projects every week, at least initially weekly, so that we can follow this along and see where we have potential problems. The QA and testing role also is one that I want to see really emerge strongly this year, and so we're going to be talking to a lot of you that have valued QA and testing and are really kind of looking for that resource. We're going to be asking you to help us flesh out the requirements around that, because we really want to build that function, and we want to build that role as a service to UTO within our PPMO group. Now I want to take just a minute, and I'll be done, to talk about the UTO training team, because the UTO training team does a lot more than work just with our projects and develop training content around our system upgrades and some of our new applications. Paul and his team spend not even half of their time doing that. They spend another significant amount of their time delivering workshops to faculty, staff, and students, participating in new student orientations and helping them get set up with their computer accounts. They spend a lot of time developing and delivering workshops around a lot of our academic technologies and applications. So my point here that I would like to emphasize to the project managers out there is they're not always available completely to work on projects and work with you to develop content around your applications. So please get those plans in early enough so that Paul can evaluate that and determine where he's going to have potential resource issues, and he can allocate his resources, you know, to be the best efficiency for all of us overall in UTO, and still to be able to meet the needs of the academic community as well. And with that, we're moving on to John.
I've decided I'm going to talk to midnight tonight. Is that okay, Leah? Anyway, good morning, everyone. I'm John Rome. I'm the Deputy CIO, which makes me the Barney Fife of UTO. And for those of you who don't know me, welcome, and hope to get to know some of you over time. So I have 3 minutes. So I think the big message is that about a year ago, we decided the university decided to dissolve Altai. And I think we've made a really nice transition into creating this new university, or the UTO Academic Technology Group. There's our mission. The slides will be available, so I really want you to spend some time to maybe, if you get a chance, to read what the mission will be. And these are really the three guys that have helped make this happen in the transition, Ruby, Guy, and Jim. And we're going to come back to them in a minute, too, because they have some skills that you don't know they have. But they really have helped in terms of setting the mission, making sure that there's business continuity, and making sure that this academic technology group is really working at the university. They're really the three areas of emphasis, or these are the areas of emphasis, but they really focus on the LMS, the learning management system, also new media services, as well as new educational technology. So the accomplishments for the last year, it's really a lot about Blackboard support. A lot of time spent on Blackboard. There's over 7,500 Blackboard courses in a given year, a given fall semester. So there's a lot of support needed to do that. That's Luke and Larry, Andrew, Stephen, Melissa, you name it. There's a lot of folks making sure, I see Gemma back there, making sure that it happens out there, support of that. I think the other big accomplishment this last year is the new media, or the Skybox Studio. And I think this is really Guy's baby that he put together, making sure that we now have a place where we can do lecture capture, we can do sort of green screen type of technology, as well as screencasting. So that's up in SkySong. The important fact is this is the $80 gallon of paint that I give Guy credit to painting the wall that you can see in the background there. And it's a nice color for your house if you're looking for something to, when you do an upgrade there. So, and he used every drop of it, I'm told. And as you can see, you can't really read this data, but there's clearly, the usage of this space is trending up, and I attribute that to Guy and the folks up in academic technology, making sure that happens. And it's a partnership done with the ASU Online and other folks as well. They also do a lot of support of academic units out there. Those are some of the, whether it's ASU Online, class, engineering, the grad college, they're doing work out there. Two of the things I wanted to highlight were lecture capture, and I think I saw Peter Lawford out there in space when I looking at the different groups listening in. He's done a tremendous job of shepherding this project and really making sure that this happens out there. And I think looking at past just chemistry, how do we make this service for all the university? Clearly there's a demand out there to do that. The other thing is the video storage and delivery. The folks in class are doing that. Jim and Robert and those folks are making sure that happens out there. So what are we working on? We're working on Blackboard Mobile. So actually Blackboard Mobile is turned on, but we're not going to announce it until 2 weeks into the semester. We want to make sure that Blackboard's up and running before people start using mobile. So as you can see, we turned it on last April, and you can clearly see that the usage really increased. We're looking, and then of course when summer came, it decreased. So we're looking at probably 20% of students, maybe 25% of students actually using Blackboard Mobile Learn to help with their mobile experience as well. We're also going to do a lot more with metrics. We need to know what's happening with Adobe Connect. We need to know who's using video. We need to know what's happening at Kaltura. So one of the challenges this year is making sure that we can report on that type of data, usage patterns out there. And also, we're looking at potentially big video solution this year as well if we get the funding. We're also, as Gordon talked about earlier today, we're going to spend some time on learning analytics, understanding there's a lot of behavioral data we think in Blackboard that can help with the student experience and maybe moving that into the retention tool that Leah's team's building. We're also getting into big data. So in addition to big video, we're getting into big data. And we're working closely with Leah's team with A2C2 of making sure that we can use, there's a lot of big data on campus that we can mine and maybe learn more about the university and ourselves. And so we've done some work in the Amazon cloud, working with Jason Green and Marco and Kendall and his team and Jim and Guy, of course, of making sure we can take this data and process these large volumes of data. This is the output of some weblog data that came up with some interesting results after Joe provided this data. Who would have thought that Yahoo for a particular time was redirecting traffic into my issue. So I think there's a lot of data, interesting information that we can learn from weblog as well as other big data. This is the other project that we actually didn't do this during work hours, but one of the things about Hadoop and MapReduce, it allows you to do word counts. So if you notice on the top, those are actually all the novels from Harry Potter and the times that they occur. The bigger the word, the more times they occur. So if you want to see a Harry Potter novel, we actually use big data and MapReduce to actually create that graphic right there. And then the bottom one, any James Taylor fans, those are James Taylor lyrics. So if somebody, maybe one of the development groups want to create a James Taylor lyric generator, we can do that now. We know what words he uses. And these are just some of the examples of big data on campus. So I think there's big data not only in academic and administrative data, but really in the research arm. We're looking at human origins data, human genome data, a lot of data out there that's ready for prime use. And of course, I have to finish it with. Where's the volume at? Okay. These guys are very talented. There's like rap music going in the background, but that's how. Who would have thought? It's a very talented group, you can see. You get the picture, I think. Good thing Ruby's not here. Okay.
So the rule for AVPs, if we give you 3 minutes, you take 6. If we give you 5, you take 10. So let's see how fast we can go. So for development, I purposely put us at the end because everything already mentioned, a number of screenshots you've seen, we ended up building or supporting or doing something with it. We, this year, have now 8 contracts with different departments and colleges, our biggest being with College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and Educational Outreach and Student Services. Right now, we have 74 employees, but we have a few vacancies. Our goal is 77 right now. But we're also looking at more ways to increase our bandwidth by outsourcing some of the work through different companies like Burgundy and some others. We had 3 babies this year. Thanks to Jocelyn, who really gave us a hedge up with the twins. And at any given time, we count at least 100 projects we're working on. And it was very sweet that Jay mentioned that we are like the artists of the group, because we don't feel that way. And I saw he had firefighters, and I just want everyone to remember that when these things happen, Dev is right there behind you. We are constantly putting out those fires with you. I'm getting texts late at night and everything else. And so we want to support ops and care, and we appreciate everything you do, and we're hoping for someday to just focus on our painting and not help with all the fires that we've been incurring, but Mother Nature happens. Some accomplishments, I had to rip out a bunch of slides because of time and because I saw how much Gordon had incorporated and John and others, but I did want to highlight certain things like the retention dashboard that we built this year. It's gotten a lot of good reviews from advisors and others on how to help students. Everyone knows about the password incident. I like to put this little stability picture behind everything we do. By the fact that we had that incident, the group really rallied, and we are on much more stable platforms for our passwords and some of the stuff that it's there, and it's been recoded to be pretty strong. So I think sometimes we underestimate how much work goes behind some of this, so I want to say thanks to the team on that, because it's not all that sexy, but it is what it is. The Peoplesoft Upgrade, I got really excited by this picture the first time Katie sent it because the little circle goes to the end. So we're getting close, but I have to say stress is high on the Peoplesoft Upgrade. Gordon mentioned it. There's a lot still to be done. We've done a lot of work, and we're in that home stretch, and so it's really hard not to just want to like slide in and skip second and third base. But we really need to focus and keep our heads down and remember the end goal is for a stable, solid launch in September. We also released a new header. I know that didn't get a ton of press and everything else, but there's a lot of work with the designers and the Drupal team to put that together and release it. Upcoming this next year, I already mentioned the Peoplesoft Upgrade. If I can't mention it again, or if you don't know about it, you need to get out from under your rock and you need to help spread the word with people. It's starting to sink in what it means for the systems to go down. We still have a lot of practice to do. We're communicating, We're working out contingency plans, and we're sweating a lot over this project. So we need to make sure everyone across UTO is a big advocate for this particular upgrade. My ASU, some of you knew we were working on something to try to launch it this summer. We decided to pull that back because a recent survey by students said one of the things they love the most about ASU is how effective their MyASU tool is. So we're going to reassess, and these are some ideas of the designs we're going for, just cleaning up the MyASU experience. More importantly, trying to do more stuff for the faculty, working with the ASU Online department and academic technologies on what we can release for faculty in MyASU. We have a lot of dashboards and business intelligence. One of our mantras this year is, how can I put more BI behind every single thing we do in development? How can we prove statistically whether we're being successful or not? One thing we're doing is we're going to combine all the admissions dashboards. There's currently 3. One for graduate admissions, one for undergraduate, and then one for ASU Online. And so by us consolidating those groups and really working with them, we're going to try to combine those and match it with goals. It's one thing to show all your data, but how does it match against what your end goal is? Data is data, and we got to be careful not to get lost down our rabbit holes of data and really focus on how it will help us as an institution. We're developing for mobile first. Gordon mentioned his birthday present last year, this year, and this is where like the designers cringe whenever I show mock-ups, because they're like, that's not how it's going to look in the end. But we got to show something, so I'm sorry, Matt. But we call it the flagship project that we're working with EOS on, and Ryan Clemens has been taking the lead on this. But student government came to us to develop an application for students to check in at different events, and they can win awards with it, and they're calling it Sun Devils Count. So this is an application that we did not design for the web. We fully designed it to work on a mobile device, and that's the direction we need to go, because many people are going to start coming with devices, and we need to be reactive to that. We're working on an integrated search. We mentioned the new contact page. We're working on this new search so that it will replace the old concept of white pages and the directory and some other things. I can tell you right now, this is going to cause some blood to boil. It's going to point out every ineffective or incorrect HR tie we have in the system, because we're using the Peoplesoft reports too. And so we're working on this, and you know, I've talked to the executives and everything else, but if we don't expose the data, it's never going to get corrected, and people are asking for it. So we're not going to recreate it in a different format. So we don't have a rollout date for that, and probably because I'm scared of what's going to happen. And then there's more, and this is my thing. I think I'm going to write this on my board, but this is how we feel in development. We give people a little taste of something yummy that we made, and they want more, more, more. And so we have a zillion projects. Actually, I'm going to stop listing these. I think I'm going to start going into plan view. Folks can see them in plan view, what we're working on, the prioritization process. Dev is behind all the initiatives with Deb's team and with operations. So we anticipate being very busy supporting those groups over the next year. And now I'm going to introduce Charlie from High Performance Computing. And we're sorry, but you're going to be here a little tiny bit late. Okay, thank you.
I won't keep you long. My name is Charlie Collins. I'm the operations manager for Arizona's Advanced Computing Center. We've had a supercomputer and research center here at ASU since 2005. I know. Nobody's ever heard of it. And that's why I'm here. Our director, Frank Timmies, is on the road and asked me to come and present just a few things to you. This is what we work with. This is what we do. And what we're dealing with right now is trying to improve the capacity that we are able to provide for the campus and for our business partners, as well as partners from nonprofit orgs such as the Mayo and TGen and that sort of thing. This is a boilerplate about mission statements and what we're up to and things like that. And it took us quite a long time to put all this together. We're quite proud of what it says, and you'll get these slides. Just a quick look at what we have in our research center, and I want to point out that the InfiniBand topspin there at the bottom is a relic from 2005. Topspin no longer exists. That was an InfiniBand network based on single data rate, SDR. And I just want to let you know that we're installing FDR, InfiniBand networking, into the lab right now as we speak. But, you know, because of budgets and the way that we're all forced to work these days, we still support everything from the beginning: SDR, DDR, QDR, FDR. And the scratch space that we're working with right now is being doubled to 450 terabytes. What we find scratch space is useful for researchers when they do interim processing in parallel. They need a place to keep some of the data until it's done and then collected. We're in the process of doubling the size of that high-speed scratch space. We have a few pretty pictures of the lab. And this slide is a little more about the Internet to 100 gigabit Ethernet pipe that we expect here at ASU by the end of the year. And there aren't very many, as you saw, Gordon, with the map in the beginning of his talk. There aren't many universities across the country that are a part of this. And so what we're doing is we're planning to take full advantage of this Ethernet 100 gigabit pipe, but also to work with the university to perhaps purchase new switching that is open flow, that allows for software-defined networking, which gives researchers and others the opportunity to actually create networks as they would like to see them work without disturbing networks that are in production. And this is all part of what is being called now the Science DMZ. And we're glad to be in the center of that. Well, frankly, we're glad to have something to do. But this is just a quick little picture of some of the users for the Research Center for 2011. And I'd like to point out that the 48.3 million CPU hours total back in 2005 when we first started the Supercomputer Center, that was around 500,000 for the year. And so people use the Research Center and continue to use it, and it's our hope that we will just continue to expand and grow. Thank you.
Okay, I know we're running over, so I'm just going to make this really fast. I just wanted to remind everyone the United Way campaign for ASU starts on August 30th. It runs through the end of October. You can make donations online. You can make donations with paper copies. You can hopefully just be part of the fundraising program and help ASU support United Way. And I just hope that everyone can participate. We will be having a couple of fundraisers probably in front of the Computing Commons building for students to help just raise extra funds to contribute as part of the whole UTO department. So that's it. I think we're done. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for coming. It's been great. I hope you learned a lot.